Welcome, everyone. Energy is life, and much of the reality that we see around us wouldn't be possible without it. Yet, our way of creating it, using it, storing it, and distributing it has been heating and destroying the planet. Which is why I'm really excited to announce the next session on accelerating renewables, breaking barriers to triple capacity by 2030. We're going to be looking at this topic from an amazing mix and diverse set of perspectives, including tech, the city perspective, movements, and much more. My name is Matthias. I am the founder of Changemaker Exchange, a support network for social entrepreneurs, activists, and innovators. And it is my pleasure and honor to be today's moderator. Very quick show of hands. Tell me, do you believe that we're going to make it? 2030, triple the renewable energy capacity. Just, the higher up, the more you believe in it. Oh, I see some doubt in the room. That is all right. Well, the speakers obviously should raise their hand very high. Wonderful. Okay, we're going to start off with a keynote by Emily Teitsworth, the Executive Director of the Honnold Foundation. And just a little personal fact about her, in her 20s, she was a cowgirl. So maybe she'll reference that in her talk as well, but she's going to be up first, and then we're moving into a panel discussion. I hope you enjoy this session. See you in a bit. Emily, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. I maybe have a PowerPoint. We'll see if it comes up. Anyway, today's session is about accelerating the transition to renewables. And I'm here to maybe complicate that topic a little bit for us. We are going to talk about speed, but we're also going to talk about equity. So I want to start with a little bit of good news. In 2023 alone, global renewable capacity grew by nearly 50%, powered by record solar deployments. Solar today, specifically, is 10,000 times cheaper than it was when it was first used on an American satellite in 1958. But the transition to renewables is about so much more than replacing fossil fuels with cleaner alternatives as quickly as we can. We have this unique generational opportunity right now to build an equitable, brighter world as we transition to cleaner and more sustainable forms of fuel. One of the things that I have learned doing social and environmental justice work for a really long time is that equity is not efficient, that inclusion and justice take longer and are harder to achieve than exclusion and injustice. I would say renewable energy can be a slow process if you consider equity. I think to illustrate why renewable energy can be this incredible tool for equity, I want to tell you the story of a community that my organization, the Honnold Foundation, knows well. On the remote border between Ecuador and Colombia, there are 60,000 hectares of pristine rainforest that are currently under attack by illegal gold mining and logging operations. But for the indigenous Kofan tribe, instead of resorting to weapons of war, for them, solar is their tool of choice. Solar powers their remote motion-sensing camera traps. It supports their night patrol stations and their surveillance drones. They collect information on illegal activity in their territory using solar power, and they transmit that to the UN and to the Ecuadorian government to hold illegally acting companies accountable. One of the things that I personally love the most about the La Guardia, which is the Rainforest Protection Unit, is that all ages and genders can join. Elders are guiding and mentoring the next generation, and the next generation sees a pathway to use technology to enable them to continue their traditional way of life and their culture. For the Kofan, solar energy is ensuring that they can maintain their culture, is ensuring that they can hold these illegal actors accountable, and it is ensuring that this pristine rainforest is protected for future generations and continue to act as a natural mitigator of climate change. There is no doubt that solar energy is making life better for communities like this all around the world. And this is why, at the Honnold Foundation, we support projects like this that are community-led and owned. Over the last 10 years since the Paris Agreement, solar energy and renewables in general have undergone a revolution. Solar is now the cheapest and most efficient way to transition to renewable energy use, and they're on track. Solar and other renewables are on track to meet half of the world's electricity needs by 2030. This is something that we should be happy about and excited for the future. And I know as an American standing on stage before you in 2025, I might seem a little bit too optimistic about renewable energy's future. There's no doubt that the Trump administration, my government, is going to do what it can to slow my country's contribution to meeting our collective goals. But 10 years after Paris, the clean energy revolution cannot be stopped. It is being driven by local communities, government, policymakers, businesses, philanthropy, and advocates. The technological and economic shifts are too powerful for any one person or country to stop. And while the clean energy revolution is in progress, it's not yet working for everyone. Today, 45% of people around the world still live in energy poverty. That means that nearly half of the planet lacks access to clean and affordable sources of energy to meet their basic needs. And we're not talking about the energy to mine Bitcoin. This is about turning on a light at night, maybe plugging in your refrigerator or charging your phone. So these kind of projects are really important, and it is true that utility and grid-scale approaches are essential for us to meet our energy and our climate goals. Private investment is going to power a large swath of the global population. But these approaches are not going to meet everyone's needs. In many places, like communities across the Amazon, there's little to no interest in being hooked up to a grid at all. There is no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to renewable energy. In order to ensure a just transition, we are going to have to find and fund a plethora of renewable energy systems. And it is also great news that there has been so many resources poured into this renewable transition. But you can see from this graph that the difference between private and venture capital investment and philanthropy is huge. And I think this is because so often we like to think of renewable energy as an infrastructure problem to be solved by the market, and not a human opportunity to be seeded with philanthropic capital. Thankfully, at the Honnold Foundation and our partner network around the world, we have seen countless low-cost and locally led initiatives that can begin to fill this gap. Our approach includes grant making, capacity building, and amplifications for grassroots organizations and communities on the front lines of climate change around the world. We have become specialists in finding and funding brilliant solutions by local leaders, helping them build proof of concept so that they can then take these ideas to scale. And I think this is something that gets at why I believe that community-centered philanthropy is so important when it comes to the renewable energy transition. When we think about our role in this transition, although the amount of funding that we're providing compared to VC and private investment is not as much, our role really is to take risks and to try new things that traditional investors might not. And hopefully some of those ideas do get adopted by the market and taken to scale. Truly, I believe when we think about solar energy, it does so much more than turn on the lights. We like to say that solar power builds social power. I want to talk about a few examples from our partner network around the world to tell you a little bit about why I think this works, why it is important when we're talking about renewable energy and accelerating the transition. Number one, community solar is cost effective, especially when we think about off-grid solutions. The World Bank estimates that for nearly 500 million people around the world, off-grid solutions are going to be the best and most economical way to provide clean energy. Our partners on the Navajo and Hopi nations in the United States, Native Renewables, are a women-led organization that decided to take on energy poverty in Native communities across the United States. We don't always think about this as a first world problem, but in the US, in Native communities, there are tens of thousands of houses that live without access to any electricity at all. Walia Jones, one of the founders of Native Renewables, told us that she realized that if the government was not going to support their energy needs, Native Renewables was going to have to figure out how to power their community using the sun. They have taken on this burden of powering 10,000 off-grid households in indigenous and Native communities around the world, 100 houses at the time. And this solution is so low cost and easy to deploy compared to grid scale and utility scale projects. Community solar also creates jobs, and it creates jobs that stay in the community. One of the biggest challenges that we've faced with communities in the US that depend on things like coal, that it is very difficult to continue to build jobs if you bring in large utility scale and outside solar developers. So our partners in West Virginia, Coalfield Development, decided to lead the coal to solar transition from the grassroots up. West Virginia in the US is a place that receives 92% of its power from coal, even today. 1 in 4 children in the state live in extreme poverty, which is one of the worst rates in the entire US. And so over the last 10 years, they have converted tons of infrastructure that was first dedicated to coal into solar. And this solar has, in turn, created over 1,000 jobs across this very rural state. And these jobs have stayed in the community and will continue to power the state and address extreme poverty for years to come. I think it's also important to note that renewable energy and community solar creates jobs, and not always just renewable energy jobs. Our partner, Asociación Propures, in the Peruvian Amazon, decided to use solar to power an aguaje fruit processing plant. And this processing plant has supported hundreds of jobs in this very isolated and rural area. They coupled this with a bespoke curriculum around marketing and commercializing fruit, and it has led to increased income for this whole community in a place where there are very few other economic alternatives. And one of the things that we face, the huge problem when we're thinking about climate change, especially for rural and lower income communities, is the worsening impact of storms and natural disasters. One of the things we've seen time and time again with our solar partners is that they are using solar energy to adapt and prepare for worsening storms. In New Orleans, in the southern US, one of the most hurricane-prone areas of the entire Western Hemisphere, Feed the Second Line, one of our partners shown here, is building a network of 100 minority-owned restaurants. They are taking these restaurants, providing them solar power, and these solar-powered restaurants are saving their owners money over the long term. But then when the lights go off and disaster hits, they agree to serve as community resilience hubs, enabling community members to charge their phones, to get first aid, to refrigerate medicine, and to support community resilience regardless of how difficult storms are. And I think with all of these benefits, I just want to highlight the fact that this solution is drastically under-deployed in comparison to all other forms of renewable energy. The Honnold Foundation is an intermediary funder, meaning we raise funds to give grants to smaller organizations. And for us alone, we have received over 2,500 requests for funding and partnership from 150 countries around the world in the last 5 years. This represents several $100 million of potential catalytic community solar. And as an intermediary funder, we're currently only able to deploy between $2 and $2.5 million per year. This is a solution that works, that's complementary to PRIs and for-profit forms of investment, and it's drastically underutilized. And I think one of the things that we're really looking for when we think about renewable energy transition and human development is that win-win, something that builds economic capacity and local economies while also protecting the environment and mitigating climate change. Community solar really is that solution. One of my favorite examples of this is the indigenous-led organization Cara Solar in the Ecuadorian Amazon. They had this brilliant idea to build a network of solar-powered boats to replace diesel transportation. They tried to get traditional investment, they tried to get bank loans, they even tried to get grants from larger foundations. Everyone said no because it hadn't been tried. They came to the Honnold Foundation, and we were able to support the creation of their first prototype solar-powered boats and the training of the first cohort of indigenous solar engineers and technicians. This solution has led to the entire region deciding to ban diesel river transportation and to ban further road building into their pristine rainforest. So not only does this solution transition them to renewable energy, build local economic and workforce development capacity, it also prevents road building, which is one of the key conduits to illegal logging and mining. I think when we think about community solar and renewable energy in general, we should think about solutions that benefit both people and the planet. And from my perspective, community solar is that solution. I want to close today by celebrating how far we have come since the Paris Agreement and embrace this drive to build big, audacious goals and to meet them. Our ability to build with speed and scale is critical if we are going to meet our energy and our climate goals. And the climate clock is ticking. But I think anniversaries like this one are also a really important moment for us to pause, listen, and reflect, and consider where we might go next. What our renewable toolkit looks like in the next 5 years before 2030. What might we be missing when we think about breaking barriers to triple capacity by 2030? There are so many opportunities and possibilities out there. Whether you're on a solar river or a conference on the Seine, it's going to take all of us. I think, when we think about the phrase, when you want to go fast, go alone. When you want to go far, go together. We have a long way to go to ensure a full, just transition to renewable energy, and it is only going to happen if we work together. The transition to renewables is about speed, of course, but it is also about equity. Future generations are going to judge our success today not only by how quickly we abandon fossil fuels, but also by how much we invest in using this moment to renew our vision for a just and sustainable future. Thank you.